Hey, what's up guys? David here from SiteMonkey. Today I want to do a review of Linode. This is a cloud hosting service provider that I've used for the last 10 years. And I just want to share my experiences over the last 10 years. Is it something that you really want to use? What are some of the top features? How does it compare with the competition and so forth? So let's get right into it. So this is Linode. It was bought by Akamai Cloud, and as you can see here, it is a very comprehensive cloud hosting provider that I've been using to host my personal websites, client websites, some of my hobby projects, and so forth, right? They provide various virtual private servers with very competitive pricing. So let's dive right into it, and then I show you exactly what they have in store. All right, so let me just log in into my account here. All right, and then just check out exactly what they have in store for us. And I'll walk you through some of the features that have stood out for me over a period of time and why I still recommend it to users today. Okay, so when you go to create a Linode, okay, so there are servers actually called Linodes. You choose a region. Now they support various regions, including the US, you have Canada, you have India, this is more recent, Japan, you have France, Germany, Australia, as well as Brazil. So you want to choose a location that is closest to you so that you can reduce on latency, right? So by default, I tend to just go with the US, all right? And then you can choose an operating system. They support various flavors of the Linux operating system. My default is usually Ubuntu, and they usually have the latest long-term versions of the operating system. But you also have Rocky Linux. This is based on Fedora. You have Slackware. You have Alpine. This is also a new operating system. Arch Linux, CentOS, and so forth. So you choose the flavor that is best suited for your use case, and you're ready to go. Now, when we come to the Linode plans here, we have dedicated CPU, shared CPU, high memory instances. We have GPU instances here, as well as premium CPU. Now, for beginners, you probably want to go with a shared CPU, all right? So what is a shared CPU? Essentially, shared CPU instances offer a cost-effective way to utilize virtualized resources, right? So that means multiple virtual machines, which includes yours and other client machines, share the same underlying physical CPU cores on the host server. So while you allocated a certain number of virtual CPUs, the actual physical CPU resources are actually shared across multiple clients. So this means that if other instances on the same physical server are heavily utilizing the CPU, then your instance might experience some performance degradation, or what we call CPU steal, in quotes, as it has to wait for available processing time, right? But no worries, Linode manages this sharing in a secure and a performant manner. All right, so and this is really something I've been using for years to run WordPress websites, Node.js applications, Django applications, and so forth. Now the shared CPUs start from 1 GB of RAM. This is a Nanode, okay? It starts from 1 GB of RAM, and you have one CPU core here and 25 GB of storage, and this starts at $5 per month. Then this goes way up, okay? Now we have a Linode 2 GB, okay? This is 2 GB of RAM, one CPU instance. The storage is doubled to 50 GB, and then you pay $12. So it just keeps on increasing like that. So my optimum for a fairly performant website that gets roughly 5,000 visitors per day, I usually go for this Linode 4 GB, right? It's worked very well for me. And this comes with 4 GB of RAM and 2 CPU cores. These are shared, and storage of 80 GB at only $24. Now, if you have some slightly heavy website, maybe it's an e-commerce store, and you want really serious performance, then you want to go with a dedicated CPU here, right? So dedicated CPU instances provide you with guaranteed dedicated physical CPU cores. Now these cores are exclusively for your virtual machine and are not shared with other users, all right? It's only dedicated to your server. These CPU cores are reserved for your instance, and you have full access to these resources without competition from other virtual machines on the same hardware. So this is really good if, for example, you're running a live streaming service, okay, or you're having a gaming service or a gaming server. Those really high CPU intensive applications where you want to guarantee CPU resources, this is where you want to go with a dedicated CPU instance. And the lowest package is dedicated 4 GB, and this comes with 2 CPU cores dedicated and 4 GB of RAM and 80 GB of storage. This goes for only $36. I think that is fairly priced, and that works its way up to 8 GB dedicated, which is now 4 CPU cores. You have 8 GB of RAM, that goes for $72, and so forth. So you can choose the package that suits your use case, either shared, which I highly recommend because the shared CPU cores are much cheaper than the dedicated CPU packages right here. Right, so yeah, that's briefly how you choose a Linode, okay? And now the other thing that I love here is storage, actually. So Linode has 2 types of storage. They have block storage, which is your typical file system storage, and then they have what we call object storage, and this is similar to Amazon S3, right? So it's not like a typical file system storage, but this is more optimized for long-term storage and serving media over the internet. So what happens here is that this storage is actually based on NVMe. This is solid state technology, all right? So for example, a nano 1 GB instance starts at 25 storage, but you can actually expand this by attaching an additional block storage volume. Okay, so you just come here, create the volume, give it a label. So maybe you just want to create you want to add a backup storage. Okay, choose the region. You want to choose the region where your existing Linode is, and then now you can attach to an existing storage. All right, so the storage starts at only $1 per month for 10 GB. So if you want 100 GB, that's only $10 per month additional. So I find this quite really interesting and useful, okay, especially for content heavy websites, like for example photography blogs that need high storage but low CPU and low memory. Okay, so you can just keep on increasing on your storage. This is block storage based on how big your website keeps on growing. And now block storage, on the other hand, is something that I use to push routine backups of my websites, right? Yeah, I push them here. I push backups right here. These are usually like zip compressed files. This is for long-term storage, and I think the pricing starts at $5 for 250 GB of storage, so it's still quite affordable, right? Yes, so that is really awesome. Now let's talk about bandwidth allowances here. So each Linode plan includes a healthy monthly network transfer allowance. Say for example, the 1 GB RAM Linode plan comes with 1 terabyte transfer, while the larger instances offer up to 10 TB of data transfer. So only outbound traffic, which is data that is served to your users, all right, when they're browsing your website and they're downloading images and CSS files and JavaScript files, this data, this data here counts against this limit, okay? But inbound traffic, like for example, file uploads to your server, is completely free. So this data transfer is divided into inbound traffic, which is data that getting into your server, and then outbound traffic, which is data that is getting out of your server, right? Yes, so for my website here, really, I've never even gone past 5% of my monthly quota, because, a TB of data is really, really huge. So you can see here, for example, SiteMonkey, I've only consumed 3.59 GB, which is just 1% of my pool, right? So they are very, very generous on that, and this is not something that you want to worry about. If your bills could easily escalate, it barely does go up. So let's talk about DNS hosting now. This is something that I find extremely useful on Linode. They provide DNS management for free. So that means if you purchased your domain from maybe Namecheap or name.com or GoDaddy, you can actually point your domain's name servers to Linode's name servers, and then from right here you can now start adding DNS records to your domain, right? You can add MX records, A records, TXT records, and so forth. And this is all for free. Now, Linode has really, really good name servers. They are fast, they quickly resolve across the internet. And so when you make changes to your domain, the records easily propagate over the internet. I found it extremely reliable. Now, I don't really currently use it, as I now use my domain registrar's name servers for most of my domain hosting needs. But for domains that I don't purchase from my domain registrar, which is name.com, I actually use Linode's name servers, right? For example, country level domains .co.ug, actually add them here, and then I manage them from here, right? So this is all free of charge, and I really highly recommend it. Okay, so let's talk about now marketplace apps and one-click deployments. Now, Linode offers one-click apps to simplify deployments, whether that is, installing WordPress or cPanel or Django. All right, this is all actually supported, right? You can find this when you when you're creating a new Linode, and you choose, let's say, this location. You come to marketplace here. You should be able to see all the various one-click applications that are pre-configured and installed when you spin up a new Linode. Okay, so we have Apache Spark here. That's a cluster. We have Backstage. We have InfluxDB. We have WordPress here, which is really very, very common and popular for people who want to run their websites. You have cPanel, which is a hosting control panel, paid for. You have CouchDB, that's a database. Postgre is a database. You have Ant Media Server, this is for streaming. You have AzureCast, I think this is for hosting a radio station. Okay, that's interesting. So you can just click on this information icon to find out exactly what that application is all about. You have Cloud Drone here. This is end-to-end deployment and automatic updates for a range of essential applications. This is actually very useful. Okay, you have Cyber Panel. This is a hosting control panel. Docker, this is containers. FileCloud is, like a Dropbox of sorts, and so forth and so on. So you simply just have to choose a specific application. For example, this LampStack, which comes with Apache, MySQL, and PHP. And then now you can continue to create that Linode. So when you create that Linode with these apps here, with a specific app, then that Linode is provisioned with that application pre-installed for you. Yeah, so that is really, really quite useful for people who don't want to go through the manual physical installation of a particular application or stack. For example, Nextcloud is very, very complicated to install step by step manually, but you could have this, you know, easily pre-installed for you. Pi-hole, very good ad blocker here, DNS filtering and so forth. You could just spin up a Linode with Pi-hole. It's ready to go. Then you can you know, configure it with your network, and you have an ad blocker without necessarily manually installing the system by yourself. Okay, now let's talk about the networking section of Linode here. Briefly hinted on domains and DNS hosting. They also provide node balancers here. This is a load balancer actually. So if you have a slightly sophisticated setup and you have your server cluster horizontally scaled, right? And now you want to put a load balancer before it, you can actually do that from Linode here, and then it will do the magic of load balancing your traffic across various Linode servers. Okay, so I've used this actually once with a client who needed a slightly sophisticated setup, but ever since I've not. But it's good to know that it's there. Then you have a firewall here. I prefer usually installing and configuring my firewalls on a per server basis, but if you want to control network traffic from and to Linode compute instances, then you can just do this from a simple management web interface right here. Yeah, so you can just specify inbound and outbound policies, drop or accept and so forth, and then just choose exactly which Linodes should be affected by these rules, right? So if you have various Linodes and you have some shared firewall rules that you want to apply across all these various Linodes, then a web-based application firewall like this could be something to consider, right? Yeah. Then we have virtual private cloud. This is a private and isolated network actually. Okay, and this isolates resources like servers, databases, and apps in a private network. Now, this is ideal for internal systems. For example, you have a paywall for your company or an organization or a client, or a backend only database, basically resources that should not be exposed to the public internet. Then you want to set up a virtual private cloud in this case, right? So those resources are isolated on their own network, and they are not exposed to the public internet. So this is again for users who have a slightly sophisticated setup and want something a bit more custom. All right, then let me talk about Longview here, okay, and monitoring. This is actually pretty cool if you want a really simple dashboard to monitor and track server metrics like CPU, memory, load, network, storage, and so forth in a very clean dashboard. Now, the free version covers up to 10 clients and 10-hour retention. This means that you'll have to install this Longview client, okay, on specific Linode instances, and the instructions here, there is essentially this command that you run on your Linode, and it installs this client on your server, and it's able to now start reporting those server metrics, right? So this is free up to 10 clients with a 12-hour data retention. Now, paid plans extend retention, but Longview's agent consumes a lot of resources, right? So if you're running this, if you're running a low-powered Linode, for example, the 1 GB RAM or 2 GB RAM shared CPU Linodes, then according to my experience, I realized that this quickly starts to consume and compete for resources with your other application, and it may not really be a very good thing to install, right? You may want to skip this for low-powered Linodes, right? Now, let's talk about managed services. Managed services is where you want Linode to take care of the whole management of your server, all right? you're probably not technical, for instance, or you don't have time, and you just want Linode to take care of the software updates, the security of your server, patching, security vulnerabilities, monitoring, and so forth, right? You can actually opt for Linode managed services. Now, I realize that this is where Linode is actually a bit expensive, because Linode managed server starts from around $100 per month per Linode, right? Let me actually look for it here. Okay, under settings, you come to add Linode managed right here. So as you can see here, Linode managed costs an additional $100 per month per Linode. So since I currently have 3 Linodes, okay, so managed will increase your projected monthly bill by $300. So imagine I have to foot an additional $300 in case I want my Linodes to be managed by the internal team at Linode. This is pretty expensive, given that the competition typically charges roughly starting from around $50. Yeah, so this is something that you have to weigh as a user, all right? But also, this is where I have to pitch our services at SiteMonkey, okay? We provide reliable website and server support, and this also includes actually managed VPS support, right? So instead of forking that $100, I can actually do it for you for about half or even less than that. So talk to us if you have Linodes that you wish to manage, have somebody manage for you. Can actually charge roughly $50 per month, right? We can talk. So just come to SiteMonkey here and just send me a request, right? Send me an email, support@SiteMonkey right here, or just tap on Get Expert Support right now. Just fill in this form and let's talk. We can actually manage some of those resources for you. All right, so let's keep going. So why essentially am I still using Linode after these 10 years? For me, I think it boils down to solid support and flexible billing. Now, Linode has one of the best in class support system, right? So this is done via an embedded ticket system on my account, which is actually now linked to my email inbox. So when you come here, for example, and tap on this, okay, you can see all these support tickets right here, okay? Yes, right here. Yeah, and some of them are informational, maybe when they have system upgrades or when they're doing some patches and so forth, actually get to be notified. Some of them are about billing here. All right, yeah, so you can actually even negotiate. So sometimes because Linode's billing cycle is slightly not in sync with my revenue collection cycles, yes, sometimes I miss paying my bills on time, but I can talk to them and they can actually extend my billing cycle, right? So that is one of the selling points about Linode. Right, even on the billing part, the bit about Linode is that they support various payment methods. As you can see here, when you come to add a payment method, they support Google Pay, support PayPal, they support credit card, or even prepaid debit card, which is the default for people like us here in Africa or in Uganda where I stay. So some hosting providers actually don't take debit cards, but Linode can actually take that, and I can use my traditional bank Visa card to pay for online services. So these guys are extremely flexible when it comes to accepting various payment methods, right? So that is one thing that I totally appreciate about Linode, right? They are essentially really universal and global in that sense. All right, so that's a review of Linode so far. They have other features like Kubernetes here. This is You have fully managed Kubernetes infrastructure. You can deploy and scale application with Linode Kubernetes engine. And this is something really sophisticated for people that have fully fledged technical teams, DevOps teams, and they are deploying really huge infrastructure on the cloud. Still, Linode is there for you. I totally love that. You have things like StackScripts. I've not used this, but these are automated deployment scripts. Again, if your setup is slightly huge, it's more sophisticated, and you want to run scripts to automate infrastructure and server deployments, this is again something that Linode has. There are community StackScripts that you can browse and take advantage of, right? Yes, so this is for people with more sophisticated setup. So essentially, Linode is really great for people with small needs. You have a WordPress website and you just want to host it, or you have a startup and you want infrastructure in the cloud to run your very sophisticated Kubernetes cluster, or you're a huge organization, you want to create a hybrid cloud setup where you have your private cloud and a public cloud, and you want to merge the two, definitely can do that. And the beauty is you have very simple pricing, very predictable pricing right here that scales with your needs. And to top it up, you have very solid support at the end of the line where you actually talk to somebody who can understand your problem and solve your needs. And more importantly, very wide, hugely supported payment methods, whether that is PayPal or Google Pay or credit card or debit card for us here in Africa. All right. So that is my review of Linode. All right. So if you want to get started, I'm going to put an affiliate link in the description below. You'll get roughly $100 on your account when you start using the service, and I also get some small fee for referral, right? If you really want to have managed VPS services, we offer that for you at a very affordable fee than what you typically find on the market. So just come to SiteMonkey here and you can send me a WhatsApp, you can send me an email, or you can just fill in the form down here. All right. And yeah, we get in touch and see how we can help you. I have over 10 years Linux system administration support and knowledge. I have DevOps experience. I'm a web developer with experience on WordPress and so forth. So this is something I do in my sleep. Yeah, so get in touch and let's help you with your website online. All right. Otherwise, thank you for listening in, and I'll see you guys in the next one.